This week I continued to balance pass and added a new multi-spawn system for later waves. Previously every tap spawned one monster and the boss appeared after 50 spawns. Even as the run continued, that kept the later waves feeling fairly similar. Now defeating a boss increases how many monsters can appear from each tap. The second wave starts spawning 2 at a time and later runs can eventually reach up to 5 per tap. This adds more density to later waves without changing the basic controls. The exact pacing still needs tuning, but the system itself is now working. While testing, I found that the rat aura knockback could sometimes become strong enough to stop tanks and even the boss from reaching the player. Some control makes sense for a defensive weapon, but keeping an enemy permanently pushed back was clearly too much. I added a 1 second internal knockback cooldown to each monster. I placed the cooldown on the monsters instead of the weapon, so each enemy recovers independently rather than the entire wave sharing the same timer. That gives heavier enemies enough time to move forward and attack before they can be knocked back again. During the same runs, I fixed the weapon test script. It gives me a quick comparison of how the weapons perform relative to each other. So I used it as a rough baseline for the rest of the tuning. Early attack speed felt too high, so I lowered the starting attack speed across all weapons. I adjusted the health value based on how the runs felt, changed the base XP and unlockable XP bonuses, and slowed the monster speed increase, so it follows boss progression more closely. I found one more bug while running through the game. Sometimes the monster's spawn state was not resetting correctly after death. This could cause tanks or mages to appear much earlier than they intended in the next run. It was a race condition and the spawn still no resets correctly. Near the end of the week, I added a debug menu to make future testing faster. It lets me restart a run, trigger level ups, change the game speed, enable god mode, adjust progression values, and toggle individual weapons. I added it after most of this week's balance work, but it should make later game setups and weapon comparisons much quicker from now on. I also started looking at changing the level up card's visuals, but the progression itself still felt off, so I parked the visual change for now. My current plan is to make weapon unlock cards appear only after defeating a boss, instead of mixing them into regular level ups. I'll implement that next week and see how it affects the pacing. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.